Hi, my name's Ryan.
I'm Judd.
And welcome to Bedlam Gaming, episode 4, I believe.
I think it's 4, yeah.
So today we're going to be reviewing Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I apologize for what you may have seen in our intro because I died, and I promise I do know how to fight the Lionels. I haven't touched the game in I don't remember the last time I picked it up because I finished the game and I've been playing some other stuff. Breath of the Wild came out the same day as the Switch.
Yep.
On both the Wii U and on the Switch. I do eventually want to get a copy of the Wii U version just for my collection, but right now I just have the Switch version. We both have the Switch version. In our other video, you will see that Judd decided to pick up his Switch on a whim that same night that I got mine, so he luckily got his, and so we both have a Switch, we both have Breath of the Wild, we've both been playing it. I finished the game, got all the shrines, and I haven't done everything. There's still a few things I have left that I can do, but I'll eventually get to those. I saw that all my armor isn't upgraded all the way. Some of it's already upgraded all the way. And I haven't filled everything in the camera yet, all the weapons and everything. But most of the things in the game that I wanted to do I've done before the DLC comes out.
I have not done hardly anything in the game. Well, it feels like I've done a lot of stuff, but when you really sit down and look at it, I haven't done much. I have probably about 30-ish shrines done. I haven't done any of the mechanized beasts. Trying to think of what else. I've collected a couple of pieces of armor here and there, but nothing extensive. And trying to explore all the map. There's still 2 areas that I haven't found the shrine, like the little towers to.
I was really focused on making sure I finished Zelda, which I did. And this is probably my favorite Zelda game. If you had asked me before Breath of the Wild came out what my favorite Zelda game was, it was probably Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. That would probably have been my answer. It's not a popular answer, but it would have been my answer. I have been in love with that game since I was a kid. Yes, I've played all the Zelda games that have come out, but Zelda 2 just holds a really special place in my heart. For the difficulty and just the scope of it. I really enjoyed that game. This game, however, is the biggest. I don't know if it's the. It might as well be the biggest game I've ever played as far as the size.
It's one of the bigger ones that I've played.
The towns were great. The different characters you'd meet along the way were great. I enjoyed going into the shrines and figuring out puzzles. There are shrines that don't have any puzzles in them, but those shrines, a lot of times the puzzle is being able to get into the shrine in the first place.
Yeah, I did notice that.
The lost memories were something that I always wanted to find the next one and see what the next part of the story was in the cutscenes.
Yeah, I think I've gotten one memory, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
And I enjoyed the cutscenes. I'm glad there was voice acting in Zelda. Yes, I would say, there have been a lot of complaints about the English voices in the game. Some people prefer the Japanese voices or some of the other voices. And thankfully, for those people, Nintendo did patch in recently the ability to choose whatever language you wanted and still have the English subtitles. So I think that's really great. Personally, I was fine with listening to it in English, and yes, some of the voice acting was better than others. I really think Zelda's voice I grew accustomed to, but I would say she definitely probably should have had a different, not necessarily a different voice actress, but definitely a different sounding voice instead of the British sounding voice that didn't sound anything like her father's voice.
But that's the fantasy element of it. Because,
Yeah.
all things in fantasy, if you want to make him officially fantasy, make him speak with a British accent.
So, yeah, a lot of people, that's the main gripe that people have about the voice acting is Zelda in particular.
She's British?
Or, well, that, and it sounds fake. It doesn't sound like a real, and it's not a real British person doing the accent, of course.
Oh, well.
And I get it. I understand people that don't like it, and I'm glad that there's an option now for those people. If you prefer to listen to the Japanese or the Spanish version or whatever language that you want to listen to, you can use that version instead. But it was fine. It didn't bother me enough that I hated it, and but I do agree with those people. I don't think it should have been that accent, and I may have preferred a different voice, but overall I was fine with it, and I am glad they brought voice acting to Zelda.
Does Link ever have a voice?
He never has a voice that
Okay.
You
Which
hear
is
him
good,
humming when he cooks,
Yeah.
and some other stuff. Personally, I wouldn't care if they gave Link a voice, because they can always, every game, it's a different Link and Zelda, so it could have a different voice actor for another game. He wouldn't have to sound the same.
That's true. I don't know. I kind of like Link not having a voice, but that's just I'd probably get over it if they did it. But
Link does talk.
Yeah,
you don't hear him
talk,
but he talks to people. He's not a mute, and I wouldn't care if he had a line, and he probably never will. That's fine, whatever.
One thing I realize is this the first Zelda game where you can't name your hero?
I think so.
Because that took me off guard. Because when I first started, I was like, wait a minute, I don't get to input my name now. The past two Zeldas I think I played, I was just putting in Link. But growing up, I'd always put Judd. So
I always put Link as my name in every Zelda game from the beginning. But once voice acting got introduced, they cut out being able to name your characters. Which, that's just the way things go.
Yeah.
Because once you have voice acting, people are saying the names, so it
Yeah.
happens. And I thought it was fine. I liked the story. I thought it looked really good. There were some moments where there was some slowdown, and it wasn't something that happened a lot. It was just a couple times while I was playing I noticed it. I don't know if it got updated and fixed. I'm not a big graphics person as far as knowing a lot about being able to see how many frames per second something is and everything. I don't really pay attention to that much. I just take people's word for it when they say something is 60 frames per second or 30 frames per second. I just play the game and have fun. But I understand people that have a real eye for that. That's great. I don't know anything about as far as that for this game. I can't tell you. And I know that if this was running on a PC, I know they could make it run, a lot better or whatever. That's fine, whatever. Anyway, for this Nintendo Switch game, this looked beautiful. The characters were great. One thing I loved about this game, going into this game, from the first trailer, seeing Link in the blue, when we first were introduced to the first trailer for this game.
Oh, yeah.
And he was just wearing that blue and didn't have a hat. And it kind of freaked me out a little bit because I've been playing Zelda since I was a kid. He's always wearing the green outfit. Now I will say, there is a green outfit in this game. And I'm not just talking about the ones you can get from Amiibo, because some people are complain about Amiibo being paid DLC. And
which I can
I
understand.
mean, I can understand you saying that,
Yeah.
and you can get, but at the same time, I understand the amiibo unlocking past costumes, and they're not great. You can upgrade them, and they're tough to upgrade because you have to get the star fragments. But
which I've never gotten one yet. So, but
I found a good guide for them.
okay.
I understand people that might be upset about that, though. But it's not something that upsets me, and it's something I like collecting figures anyway. So for me, it's a win-win. I get a little something extra. But there's a green outfit you can earn in this game without having to have an amiibo. You can get a traditional Zelda tunic, so you'll have to work hard for it, but you can get it. I've gotten it. But the monsters, I love that this game brought Lionel's back. That's something I don't think that has been in a game since Zelda 1. Unless I'm mistaken, I don't.
I can't remember.
They may have appeared in Oracle of Ages or Oracle of Seasons. I don't know if they're in Minish Cap.
No, not that.
Because I still haven't finished Minish Cap. But anyway, as far as I know, we haven't seen him since Zelda 1. I haven't seen him since Zelda 1 that I can recall. So that was really cool. I love that those came back. The Hinox, the first time I ran into a stall Hinox, that's the first thing I ran into that looked like that. And that was at night. I was just in this forest and ran into this giant skeleton with one eye. And I mean, that was just a really cool moment in the game because I wasn't looking for it. I just came upon it.
There's a lot of enemies I'll just happen across. I'm like, wow, they're really big. I better run to the side.
It's interesting how daunting something seemed early in the game, but by the end of the game, I mean that's natural, I guess, once you get stronger. But I was really didn't want to fight the Guardians early on in the game. I ran from them any moment I saw one. But when I learned to fight them, it was not that difficult.
I'm still learning.
The Korok seeds, being able to use to upgrade your weapon slots are great. When the game started, I didn't know I could upgrade my weapons. So I'd been collecting some of the seeds when I first came across the big Korok who wanted the seeds, and he would upgrade my weapon or shield or bow slot. I was very relieved because at the start of the game, you don't have that many slots for those. Yeah. So that's great.
Of course, your weapons break like within like 3 enemies, so you know you're.
But you can always see. At first, my weapons broke really often, but I've been able to make my weapons last, and you start to get used to it. And whenever a weapon breaks, you can usually always find something else, and you know, weapons reset in the world like monsters do during the blood moons. So if you know where the good stuff is, you can always warp to a shrine near that location and go grab one. So there's a lot of really cool aspects of the game like that. I like the weapon system. I think I was talking about the armor earlier and didn't really get into it, but I was worried about him not having the green tunic. He has the green tunic. But there's so many other outfits in this game, and I love them all.
Yeah, a lot of outfits.
I can't think of any of them that I hate. I mean, I like the Guardian set. Some people hate the helmet to it, but I don't even. That doesn't bother me even. I like how unique each set is. I like how each set has unique properties and bonuses that it will give you once it's been upgraded twice. I really gave me an incentive to go out there and farm the items I needed to upgrade, and just it was great. There's still. That's one of the reasons I want to dive back into the game is I want to upgrade all my armor before the DLC comes out. So I love the game. I don't know what else to say. I'll just go ahead and I'll say for me, it's definitely a personal 10 out of 10 for me. And I don't know, Judd can give his views on it so far and
Yeah,
talk
like
about what he
thus
likes
far,
about the game.
I mean, I still would, even though I'm not through with it. Like, I guess it would be unfair for me to give it a score, but I'm still gonna say it's a 10 out of 10 from what I played. The only irritating thing that I find is the fact that weapons break so easily, but I understand why they did it. You know, they wanted a lot of variety in the weapons, but I don't know if it's going to be my favorite Zelda game. I mean, it's up there. Thus far, like, my favorite Zelda game I've ever played was Skyward Sword. I like the fact that the motion controls they're minimalist. Because, well, I mean, with the Wii, it was the Motion Plus, and that was the central thing with the premise of the game, was their controlling scheme. Obviously, with the Switch, motion controls are less of a focal point. I mean, you have them with the, I don't even know what you call it, like the controls they probably have a gyroscope in them, so when you're aiming your arrows, you can move the controller and it will move around slightly on screen.
You can do that. There's also some of the shrines that have puzzles in them that you have to tilt.
That's right. I forgot about that. Like, you have to tilt it to move huge marbles through.
Like
places.
those labyrinth maze things.
Yeah. So I think the control is better. It handles better as a game on this than Skyward Sword. But I really enjoyed Skyward Sword a lot. This is by far the biggest Zelda game as far as scope and what you have to do. But I mean, it's definitely a top-rated Zelda title, I would say. I mean, I'm already liking it a lot. You know, I would say it's probably easily top 3, top 5, maybe. But yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing it, and it's such a huge game. Like I said, I've probably been playing it for I don't know how many hours, and it feels like I've not even scraped the surface of what this game has to offer. So I think in that respect, it's better than any other Zelda game because it's so expansive. I mean, if I played any other Zelda game for this long, I'd probably be, you know, a halfway through or at least a third of the way through, you know, because all the other Zelda games are fairly linear as far as what you have to do. It's like, okay, you have this temple, and you go to this temple, you get an item that can take you to this temple. But this is it's so open world, it's crazy.
Yeah, I love, one thing I'll say, I do want to mention that made this game great for me is how it just breaks all the conventions of Zelda that you know. When you go into this game, just be prepared for it to not be what you're used to.
Well, this is a bigger departure than Majora's Mask. You know, like Majora's Mask was different.
It was a different type of game. It was still very similar to Ocarina of Time as far as control style and everything like that. I had a lot of new stuff introduced.
Majora's Mask was still great, even though it, you know.
As far as formula, I would say it's the biggest departure from formula since Zelda 2. Zelda 2, there wasn't even a formula then, really. But if you look at Zelda, first Zelda, then Zelda 2 was completely different, but then Link to the Past went back to being like Zelda 1. And then from there on, even though stories were different, and you were in different places, like in Link's Awakening, and
it's good to see companies try to find new ways of doing stuff and still making their games good, because it would be so easy to change a formula and botch it terribly, but Nintendo's pretty good at churning out great games. So that's that's my basic take on it. Like, I don't have any major problems with it thus far. It's all been really good. Like I said, my biggest complaint was the fact the weapons break seemingly so easy, but that's a minor inconvenience, and I wouldn't really list it as a huge detriment to the game. So
definitely recommend this game to anybody that likes Zelda. If you didn't like Zelda in the past, I mean, you might still want to give it a shot because it's very different in a lot of ways, but you might not like it because you don't like Zelda, so you don't like the characters and everything, that's fine. If it's not your thing, then don't play it. But if you've been into Zelda, I think you'll like it. And if you have a Wii U, get it for the Wii U.
Yeah.
If you've been able to get a Switch, get it for the Switch. Or if you're planning to get a Switch, then just, wait and get it for the Switch. Anyway, that's how I feel about Zelda. Breath of the Wild. Great game.
Great game.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I don't know what our next review is going to be.
I don't know either. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned.